Good morning. So far, still in storage. We haven't moved across anywhere. Yeah, I guess you guys have done practice with the lab scenario what we have explained. Okay, and we still left with a few storage scenarios. Okay, we'll see today, and from tomorrow onwards, we'll start with the other features of VMware like HA and DRS. Okay, today what we will see is two small topics which are still pending on the storage side. One is one is VMware RDM disk. Another one is storage cluster. Okay, we'll discuss briefly about these two. We'll not be able to do the 100% lab on RDM disk, but we'll try to show you how that can be configured and used in any customer scenario. Okay, so imagine you have esxi host and some SAN storage and configured with some esxi or fiber channel, whatever the protocol that company has adopted. So what you did, you have created three data stores. That is what we did, right? Three different data stores, and the same three different data stores, so three different LUNs on the storage, my bad, and the same three LUNs has been allocated to this esxi host. esxi host as a raw devices, and you formatted it and created three different data stores. You call it as LUN 10, LUN number 20, LUN number 30. Okay, the same thing over here, the naming conventions is also same. So now what you will do, you can create a virtual machine. Okay, and customer can access the virtual machine like this, and he can log in and save the data, retrieve the data, and do the business what he wanted to do. Now this VM will be saved into this or this or this, any one data store. Agree or disagree? You'll keep the virtual machine in any one of the data store, right? Okay. Now the scenario is something. The data store size is 2 TB, which is standard. The data store size is 2 TB. Now I got a server with the following requirement: SQL server. One is SQL server. I need to build SQL server. C drive 40 GB, D drive 100 GB, E drive 2 TB, F drive 2 TB, G drive 250 GB, H drive 1 TB. Just an example. This is the server requirement. If you look at the storage in the esxi host, storage in the within the esxi host, all the data stores are 2 TB. These data stores also allocated to other hosts also, right? Also allocated to other host, host 2, host 3, host 4, and so on. How many hosts within the cluster? 64 hosts. The same storage has been allocated to other hosts as well. Agree or disagree? Now, if I want to create this server, how you will create the, how you will allocate the storage? Your data storage is 2 TB, but you need two 2 TB drives. How you will get that? Come on, Vivek. Hello. Yes, you there? Please unmute yourself and talk.
Add more storage on ESXi host.
Add more storage onto ESXi host. Okay, and create a data store. The standard is 2 TB, I said. Okay, if you create a data store, you will lose some overhead, and if you create a VMDK on top of it, again you will lose some overhead. Okay, in such scenarios, what you will do, as you said, we will create new 2 or 3 disk here. 3 different, I'll not say disk, my bad, LUNs. LUN 40, 41, 42. Okay, 40 and 41 are 2 TB, 2 TB, and 42 is 1 TB. Okay, 3 here. So this and this is satisfied, and C drive, D drive, and G drive, can I create from here? Okay, so what you will do, create a virtual machine, add 3 disk. When creating a VM, add a disk, one is 40 GB, add a disk, one is 100 GB, add a disk, another one is 250 GB. These 3 disk you need to add while creating a VM. Okay, now all the 3 disk will be created, and you will see 3 different VMDK files in the data store. Agree on this point? Inside the data store, you will see one folder or one directory with the server name. If you go inside, you will see some files: VMX, VMDK1, VMDK2, VMDK3. 3 VMDK files will be created because 1, 2, 3 local disk. That's it. Done. Now these three learns to whom I will allocate. To whom I will allocate? Can I allocate this to ESXi host or to VM? How?
ESXi host.
Okay. Why can't you assign it to VM? Because I want to mount these three LUNs directly onto VM. Understood? But you cannot really allocate this storage directly to any virtual machine, because there is no IQN adapter or esxi adapter on a physical server. Like physical server, you have a IQN adapter or esxi adapter with the IQN number and WWN number for your HB adapter. To that HB adapter, you will allocate the storage. But this virtual machine doesn't have any such configuration. Then to whom you will allocate the storage? There is no direct option to allocate it, right? You cannot really allocate a storage to virtual machine directly from SAN storage. That is the limitation. Understood?
Yes.
Okay. Now what you will do, you will create a 3 different LUNs and allocate to cluster. Cluster in the sense this ESXi, this ESXi, this ESXi, and so on. All the ESXi servers, just like what we did so far. Okay. Can I go ahead and do that? Simply, I will go to my, I will use the existing volume only. I won't create a new volume. I can create one more virtual disk, right? One more LUN I can create it. 5 GB LUN. Can I create it? Possible?
Yes.
File and storage services. esxi. I have four different LUNs here. Okay. Let me disable this and remove, delete fourth one. 140, I have deleted it. Okay. Now you see only you have 3, 10, 20, 30. What I will do, I will go to new esxi disk. Can I use one of the drive? It's okay, I can use it, right? Because they are not used in the backend. Learn 41 to SQL Server. Understood? 5 GB example or 2 GB. Let's treat it as a 2 TB. Or let's take 5 GB, treat it as a 2 TB. And to whom I will assign the same cluster where I have created. How many hosts it has? In my scenario, in my lab scenario, I have 6 hosts. In real time, you will say 64 hosts. Next, create. Done. This one, right click, properties, LAN ID, 41, apply. Okay, that's it. Done. Now go to esxi host, go to any cluster, any host, and configure storage adapter. Select the adapter and devices. Devices. Happen. Rescan. SAN storage is gone here. How come? The whole SAN storage is gone. What happened, man? Yesterday only we created it, right? Yesterday you guys practiced it.
But we practice
Sorry?
we practice on development cluster.
Even in development cluster also it's gone. Nothing. Let me try. It's working. Not connected. What happened to this? Sorry. Just a second. To be on mute. A lot of noise. Port binding is there. Fresh. Scan. Strange. Is there any other 30.55? The picture? No, we haven't allocated any duplicate IPs so far. Let me see. 68, 55. License is expired for this machine. We still have 145 days. Connected. They are not connected to properties, initiators. Let me remove the other lab. What we apply the security connections. Okay, let's try, and otherwise I need to reboot the entire lab. That's the difficult part. Okay, it happens, not don't worry, because we're not playing with any real-time storage. Properties C9. Okay, let me do one thing. Anyway, I have removed these hosts from the SAN storage. Only these are left in the configuration. Remove, rescan. Okay, and what is IP? 192.168.30.55, right? It should work, man. Okay, let me do one thing. I'll reboot this host and see. I'll reboot one host and see if it works. Let's see. So what I'm looking at is, if I have a VM like this, okay, treat this as okay, Windows SQL2. Treat this as my SQL server. This has 3 drives local, already configured in local. What are those 3 drives? It says 3 drives locally configured: VMDK1, VMDK2, and VMDK3, or VMDK0, 1, 2. One is 40 GB, one is 100 GB, another one is 250 GB, which is already configured. Now I want to allocate more storage to this. So what I can do, I can go to, okay, now all the VMs are gone, I guess. Local host is rebooted, right? So wait until this has come up. Okay, and log in where we are. Let me shut down this. Already rebooted. Okay, go to here. This is already rebooted. Check it out. Still not working, man. Very strange. Still not working. Okay. So I'm not 100% sure whether this is a service or not, but I'm just trying. Path itself is not used. How come? Same one. Let me do one thing. I'll reboot this host. Okay, I'll reboot this storage server and see. Okay. Okay. So it is up and running. Let's see. Log into the recent and do the scanning. See, it's working now. So storage services is not up and running. Okay, it should work now on this as well. And you'll see data stores will come online in some time. And on the second host will come online in some time. On the third host, I'll have to rescan it again. They will not discover automatically once the storage is rebooted. Rescan the storage. Yeah. and go to data stores, you will see those will be mounted in some time. It will take little time to mount. See, it's mounted. Understood the culprit? This is the lab environment, so that is the reason I straight away they rebooted this and rebooted that. If it is working well, good. Otherwise, I'll reboot my physical host as well. But it's not the case with the real time. Remember. Okay. Now go back to the scenario. What we're discussing on this particular host, you have one VM which has three local drives. These three are the local drives. So already created under this, and you need to create additional storage from SAN. I have created one out of three. I have created one 5 GB and allocated to ESXi host only. Allocated to ESXi host only. Let me show you that. Go to configure storage 41. This is the 5 GB LAN which I have created. 5 GB not consumed or something. Yeah, not consumed. Okay, this 5 GB, what I can do if I go to data stores, yeah, go to any host, I click storage, add a new data store, VMFS. Next, you will see the 5 GB one. Understood? This is what we allocated, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what I will do, I will not, I will not allocate this storage or this raw device to any ESXi host. I will not create a data store. Please do not create data stores. Escape. Okay. Now, to which VM you want to attach this? You have a SQL server. Imagine this is your SQL server, which is already running on one SAN storage. Here in this case, it is showing as a local. Imagine it is running on some SAN storage, and from SAN storage, it took C drive, D drive, G drive. C drive 40 GB, G drive 100, sorry, D drive 100 GB, and G drive 250 GB. That is already allocated, and VM is up and running. Now, this drive is running with missing D, E, sorry, missing E, F, H. These three drives are missing. One is 2 TB, another one is 2 TB, another one is 1 TB. Imagine that 5 GB is one of the 2 TB. How to allocate that? Right click, edit settings, edit settings. Okay, add a new device. Okay, and you see RDM disk, RDM disk, hard disk. If you say hard disk, it will go and sit on one of the data store. One of the data store, you have to specify from which data store the 8 GB disk should pick it up, right? Specify, you have to specify the data store somewhere here. Browse location. You can specify where you want to keep the disk. No, this is not the case. Cancel. I want to allocate add disk RDM disk, raw device mapping. Raw device mapping means you have a SAN LAN which is allocated to ESXi host. Let it be on any ESXi host the VM is running. Okay, imagine your ESXi host is in a cluster and it has shared storage. Your VM is running on one host. At any point of time, you can run you can migrate the VM from one host to another host, right? That is a condition. Otherwise, it's otherwise it's okay even if you allocate a raw device to a standalone VM or standalone ESXi host. But the one thing you need to remember, when you are planning to allocate a raw device mapping or raw device mapped LAN to ESXi cluster, please zone it correctly. Otherwise, if a machine is moving across different hosts within the cluster, it will lose the SAN connectivity, or else I can say it will lose the RDM disk connectivity. Understood? What I'm saying is, in short, I have created one LAN allocated to this host. Now I have a raw device here. I never created a data store. This raw device I can attach to this VM, it will work. But if DRS, next feature we are going to discuss tomorrow or day after tomorrow, if a DRS is trying to migrate this VM from this host to this host, VM will go. But there is this raw device, it is not allocated here. So VM will go, but you will see D drive is missing here. Once the VM is migrated, you will see missing D drive on the server. That shouldn't happen. So be careful. So select raw device. Now it will show you that unallocated raw device of 5 GB. Select OK. So what it will do? It will add new hard disk, but directly from SAN. But you cannot directly assign any storage from SAN to VM. So we are using esxi host as a medium. From esxi host, you will mount this raw device to any specific VM. That you call it as raw device mapping. Understood? Or any confusion? Hello?
Yes, I understand.
Okay. If you expand, store with the virtual machine again physical, and there are compatibility physical, virtual. A couple of options are there. Let's understand. Store with virtual machine means the raw device is attached directly to machine. But what is virtual machine? Some set of files. Configuration is on .vmx file. Configuration is saved on VMX file. Okay, now you have a server up and running. Tomorrow morning you rebooted the server. VMX file, what it will do? It will read for VMDK file 123 and it will power on and it will leave this raw device as it is, because VMware won't understand anything else other than VMDK file. Clear? If it is a VMDK file, VMware understands, yeah, I have a 3 VMDK files, means 3 drives I need to mount to the customer. That is only it will understand. Now in this case, if you allocate the raw device, how VMX file will come to know? So what VMware will do? This raw device, it will create a pointer, shortcut pointer, one VMDK file inside this. VMDK file won't hold any data. Actual data is here itself, but it is a pointer here. So that every time when the machine is rebooted, system will understand that VMDK file 1, VMDK file 2, VMDK file 3. These three are local. Also VMDK file 4, which is pointer to SAN storage. I will also mount that. So system will remember VMDK file only. That is the only reason, the logic behind what they have done here. See, store with virtual machine, disk will be stored with virtual machine, and the physical mapping is here, and compatibility mode, physical and virtual. If it is a virtual, what happens? If it is a virtual, what happens? Dependent, independent, lot of options are there. If it is a virtual, so if you say dependent, dependent disks are included in the snapshot. Independent persistence, changes are immediately saved, permanently returned to the disk. Permanent is not affected by the snapshot. Independent non-persistent, changes to the disk are discarded when you power off your virtual machine are relevant, revert the snapshot. Okay, means in short, there is a snapshot concept. VMware snapshot concept. In that, it has a lot of weightage. when you are using RDM disk. If you use physical, remember we will discuss this again in snapshots. If you use physical here, this raw device will not be included in the snapshot. If it is virtual, then this raw device will also included in the snapshot, but there are three different options: dependent, independent, persistent, independent, non-persistent. The behavior of the snapshot and data holding and reverting and restoring and committing the data will vary according to the option what we have here, the disk mode, that we will discuss in snapshots. Okay, this is how, if you click OK, it will allocate one more disk, but this is not the original Windows machine or original Linux machine here on the left side. These are all tiny Linux VMs. Even if you click OK, you will get an error. It's completed. Strange. Okay. Power on. Inside, you can mount one more disk. That's it. Inside the virtual machine, you'll have one more disk inside. You will not see anything here because this is tiny Linux one. Right? Let's see. It's okay. It will not work anyway. Graphics problem anyway. You tested it right most of the time. So, but what you have to remember, you will see if you go to edit settings, you will see additional 5 GB disk is allocated here. Okay, that is one thing, and this is how you will allocate a SAN storage disk directly to a VM using option called RDM disk. Remember, okay. And one more small topic is there, but we will discuss in more in detail in DRS. Okay, that is data store clusters. If you see data store clusters, there are no clusters here, but if you see data stores, a lot of data stores are there. How to create a cluster? Let's see quickly. Right click on cluster, storage. Okay, new data store. This one, options will always vary. Data store cluster. Where is this option? I guess I need to enable settings. Let me try. Options will always vary here. Okay. Anyway, let me try this option quickly. I'll show you how to create a cluster. We'll discuss more in detail in DRS only. Figure DRS, edit. Let me see. Okay, my bad. No need to enable the DRS. Go to storage, and I'll see storage, new data store cluster. Okay, always options will vary, and normally you can keep it here, or at least when here create a new data store cluster, you should see here. Let me go to another GUI because this is first time I'm using this GUI. Hello, let's see. It'll take 2-3 minutes and then we'll close off. Just to see, I mean, creating a cluster is very simple. Just like how you create a data store host cluster, production cluster, and development cluster, right? Similarly, you can also create data store clusters. Data store, yeah. If I data stores, new data store, my bad, same options. Fine, go to here, select the data stores, select the storage, here also select the storage and expand. You will see a lot of these data stores and go to storage, new data store cluster. Here also new data store cluster. Fine. What I will give prod underscore cluster, production cluster. Don't turn on any DRS as of now and use which cluster you want to use it, production cluster. Next, you will see all data stores. Okay, you cannot use these to create a cluster. These are not applicable to create a cluster. Select the ones which has SAN storage. Next, finish. Now you will see, go to data stores. You will see all the data stores here, but you will see if you go to any host, all the all the data stores are there, but look at, there is a cluster added to here. All these are under one cluster. Okay, you can manage your storage under one cluster. How you manage your host under one cluster? Similarly, you have a storage cluster which has all the three data stores. That's it. Rest of the other local machines in other cluster. Okay, what I will do, I will remove these hosts from the inventory. Okay, because we are not going to test it anything on the development cluster now. Understood? We're done with the storage practice, right? Most of these scenarios from tomorrow onwards, what we discuss is a simple options. Okay, there's nothing to do with it, but we need to understand how they are functioning. So you can play in the production lab itself. So no need to keep any delete. So that you'll see some clear lab. Okay, now if you go to storage, you'll see that's it. One cluster, all the SAN data stores are one cluster. Fine. The rest of the local data stores on each host. Host 1, host 2, host 3. These are individual data stores and this is cluster data store. And consolidated size is 54 GB. Actually it is 60 GB, 20 into 20, sorry, 20 plus 20 plus 20. Okay. 3 data stores. And after the overhead, you will see 54 GB is the total space for this cluster. We'll see how we can operate this cluster in DRS, and also we'll see how we can automate the migrations within the cluster. That also we'll see in DRS scenarios. Okay, so in short, today what we have seen today, RDM disk and storage cluster, how to create a storage cluster. These two things I have explained briefly, not 100% lab testing, because testing is still pending for storage cluster that we can do. RDM disk, you need to deploy one real VM and allocate and log into the machine and see that disk is showing inside. Only that option I haven't shown you. You can log into the machine and check for a disk. It will automatically shown as a local disk only. That's it. Nothing else is pending on the RDM side. Okay. Tomorrow, what we will do, we'll start with this topic. It will take around 2-3 days to cover it off. We'll discuss briefly what all the things that comes under picture when we are discussing about VMware HA. That we will start tomorrow. Fine. Any questions on this? Any questions on RDM and storage cluster? All right, let me stop here.